hands. Good grief.
Hello, I'm Margaret.
And I'm Russ.
And we're with Michaela.
Join us in the adventure to save Africa's wildlife.
A little over a month ago, we arrived back on African soil. It's been a wild ride of preparations, meeting some of our wildlife heroes,
How's things?
and viewing some amazing animals and birds. Our African safari north, from South Africa to Ethiopia and back, has definitely begun. Before leaving the Johannesburg area, we stopped by Bambalela. This wildlife rescue and rehabilitation center is nestled in the mountains outside of Bela. We arrived at a time of grieving. Gert, Silke's companion and wildlife rehab partner, had passed away suddenly about 10 days before. However, as always, we were inspired by the dedicated people involved at Bambalela, from Silke, Belinda and Sue, to all the current volunteers. Monkeys and their welfare are top priority. The ever-present goal is to get them living free in the bush once more as quickly as possible. This time we brought 15,000 rand, some to sponsor orphaned vervet monkeys Michaela and MK for another year, with the remainder to where it's needed most. Food, medical, and maintenance costs are never ending, as you can imagine. Unfortunately, we missed Shannon with the African Raptor Center. She had just returned from this year's bearded vulture second egg harvest in the snowy Drakensberg Mountains. From what we hear, it was horrendously difficult this year. The youngsters from previous years are doing well. The challenges with government and pertinent NGO cooperation remains frustrating, as does, of course, consistent funding. Traveling through Swaziland, we stopped off for a delightful visit with Anne Riley in peaceful Milwani Nature Reserve. Anne, daughter of famous Ted Riley, has her father's passion for wildlife and preserving it. Ted's persistence as a young man brought wildlife back to Swaziland in the 1960s. After multiple efforts, Ted convinced the king of Swaziland that wildlife was good for the country. Still today, wildlife is protected and flourishes due to the small country's strict anti-poaching laws and enforcement. Anne keeps the fires burning via effective ecotourism strategies. More coming about what we learned from Anne. A fabulous day driving through the Kruger National Park. Viewing the animals ended with a different sort of treat. Byron keeps the park's all-important anti-poaching helicopters flying. These 4 machines, complements of Howard Buffett, are super high-tech. They are equipped with all sorts of gadgetry and technology to apprehend and deter poachers. They're also used to transport poachers, dead or alive. Sadly, they're also used to transport baby Rhino whose mothers have been killed by the poachers. With Buffett's billions, they of course didn't need our help. But Russ sure enjoyed seeing the helicopters and all the gadgetry. While in the Kruger, we saw rhino, elephant, one lioness,
Forward again for you.
many majestic kudu bulls to Russ's delight, and almost a leopard. Those elusive leopards. The vast Kruger is like stepping into a different world. Here you are in the animals' world. This was never more apparent than when in the close proximity to elephants. Fortunately, this particular herd of elephants did not get irritated by a little white car that in my mind drove up far too close. Unless in a protected hide, you'll always hear the Landy's engine running in our elephant video clips. When one lone bull decided to cross the road right where we were stopped, it once again proved to be a good thing.
I would drive a little, my dear.
Another surprise in the Kruger was an invitation to visit the rhino bomas. They serve as a temporary holding place for injured or orphaned rhino, as well as rhino being relocated for one reason or another. Since the rhino poaching crisis in the Kruger, we've been told that some have been moved to safer locations. Outside the Kruger, it was our pleasure to spend a few hours with Natalie. She's a remarkable young orphaned rhino rehabber. 5 youngsters, rescued as babies, are now successfully living in the wild. An independent researcher is following Natalie's process, and the conclusions are due at year's end. One of her biggest challenges remains consistent funding, largely because of their closed rehab process. Other centers bring in paying volunteers, publish images of people with their rhino cabs, and allow public access. In some cases like this, the rhino and other animals become too habituated to humans and aren't successfully released. To assist Natalie in her work, we brought along 20,000 rand. Some of this will go to help the work of 2 marvelous men we met. Tokelo and Maiden are anti-poaching rangers on horseback. 4 retired racehorses from Zimbabwe have a new mission: to protect wildlife from poachers. Astride their retired racehorses, these 2 rangers patrol the fence lines daily. They're proud to be part of a successful, systematic way to protect the rhino and all other wildlife in their appointed area. Wow, that's a lot we've experienced in a month. Later this week, it's off to meet Samantha, who is with CARE in Pelabora, before we move on to Zimbabwe to visit Bay, Mark, and Brent. Oh yes, right now your donation in dollars is maximized due to the exchange rate. So what are you waiting for? 100% of your charitable donation goes to help save African animals.
Come along, join us. Join the adventure.